Last week, during our current events discussion, we talked about how the wall is not immoral, like many leftists believe, and even many Christians believe it. Oh, that's immoral. How can you build these walls, keeping people out, and so forth? I decided to, and Damien brought up the point of it being, I can't remember exactly what you said, but the point was that it's a symbol of nationalism versus globalism,
Right.
and so on. So I wrote this on Facebook here today. I said the wall is more than just a barrier of protection against illegal immigration. It is a symbol of America's last stand against the enemies of Christianity and freedom. If the globalists allow the wall to be built, they risk having their diabolical plans for a one-world government be delayed a generation or more. Satan tried everything he could to stop the wall from being built in Nehemiah's day, and he is doing the same today. Let us pray that our leaders stay resolute in this ever so important battle. So, what you said last week just really made me think, I don't think there's I think they want the wall open so we can get illegal immigration coming through here. But I really think the symbolism of the wall is more dangerous for the globalists than the physical wall itself. Just for the fact that what it means, it stands for sovereignty. Mm-hmm. It stands for law and order. It stands for separation from the rest of the world. And all the speeches President Trump has been giving to the United Nations and on the campaign trail has been anti-globalist. His whole theme is America first. Make America great again. It's not, we're all citizens of the world. We're going to build this world utopia. And that's what Bush and both Bushes, as well as Obama and others, have been peddling to us. And we said it a couple times already in other discussions, but I believe the wall, especially since it's used in the book of, in the Old Testament, the wall around Jerusalem was a wall of security and safety to keep the pagans from invading. It was a way to preserve their culture, to preserve their sovereignty. Nehemiah was commanded, that was the first thing they were to do when they went back after they were punished, after they went into Babylonian captivity. The Israelites, first thing they did was rebuild the wall and the temple. So it was a big ordeal at that time. The enemies kept trying to discourage the wall builders, kept throwing wrenches in the way, and it took faith. I mean, some of the odds looked very overwhelming for them to get that wall built, but then they finally got it done, and they got it done in a record time too. And but New Jerusalem, or heavenly Jerusalem, heaven, you could put it this way, heaven has a wall around it. It's described in Revelation chapter 21 and 22, and it is to keep out all of the unassimilatable peoples and to protect or preserve the culture of God's kingdom. So I believe the wall is a way better symbol of America or of Christian America than the Statue of Liberty, because I believe the Statue of Liberty actually has some pagan roots. If we got into it, I do have a couple of videos about that, but I'm not going to go into that today. But definitely the wall. It's not even a picture of a person or an idol, like,
right.
You get this woman over there with this big light bearing.
It could be a harlot.
Yeah, it could be a harlot. I mean, and it's amazing that the Democrats, the leftists, love the Statue of Liberty now. All of a sudden, because she's so welcoming, but the wall is not welcoming. But so anyways. We talked about that, but I think the symbolism is what scares the hell out of the globalists.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because what's going on in England right now with the EU is almost identical to what's going on with us and the wall, and that the people have spoken and said they don't want to be a part of the European Union. They want to become their own country again. And the deep state over there, their embedded lifer government is saying, we don't care what you said. We want to stay with the European Union. And ultimately, to me, that says that's Satan fighting against what ultimately is the opposite direction of globalism. England is trying to become its own nation again, and we're trying to secure our nation, and it's the exact opposite of what Satan and the people on the left want, because that's the opposite of globalism, that's the opposite of New World, that's the opposite of world peace.
Right, yeah, they want open borders, they want no boundaries, they want everything blended together into one, because if they got a nation that's separate and it's got walls, they can't control that.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things going on in this world right now that are not making Satan and ultimately the beast very happy right now.
Right, and that's one thing that Christians don't realize. A lot of Christians look at this wall and say, this is mean-spirited, but they haven't, this wall is supposed, Donald Trump said it good, I think I read it in our last discussion on this, but people don't build walls because they hate the people on the outside. They build walls because they love the people on the inside.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
Exactly.
And that is so true. That's what heaven's all about. You know, heaven has a wall that's described as being 300 feet tall, New Jerusalem, heavenly Jerusalem. And, but, you know, they're not taught about the beast in Revelation. Many of these Christians that think the wall is immoral. They don't know anything about the globalist, how Revelation ends in a globalist empire of the Antichrist who first has to break down these walls before he can control all the nations of the world. So they don't understand that putting a barrier, a wall up there, is actually trying to prevent Satan from achieving his objective.
Exactly.
And, you know, I can't help but think of this song. I think we might have talked about this before, but the song Imagine by John Lennon. I broke it down and put notes on it because a lot of people, when they listen to music, there's so many songs like this today. And
it has a great melody.
Yeah, it really gets you into it. I mean, I'm thinking about the melody right now, and it's taking me in.
Do you recall that he said we're more popular than Jesus Christ?
Yeah.
He also said that.
Right.
So
right, yes. So,
where was he at mentally at that point?
Exactly. So I don't know I think he actually wrote this song, I believe.
Yeah.
But he was, you know, he messed with drugs, and, you know, he made that comment that you said, he's more popular than Jesus.
He was into other world religions and stuff.
Right. So he obviously had some demonic influence here. Check this out. Imagine there's no heaven. There's my note there. Whoops. I just lost it. There we go. I'm going to try to mark. There we go. I'm trying to get my pointer here. Okay. No life after death. You'll see all this is so anti-biblical. And people sing this, a lot of Christians sing this, and have no idea. And they're just...
It's about peace and love.
It's a wonderful one-world order.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, you know, this is... You know, when we're talking about the wall and we're talking about Marxism and Christianity being synthesized, when you read the words of the song, it's not that much different than what we're getting from our churches, but in different ways. Yeah. Not totally worded like this, but okay. So it's easy if you try. No hell below us. Here we go. The church. One thing it doesn't do anymore. It doesn't teach the fear of God. Proverbs tells us that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And if the church isn't teaching that there's a hell, Jesus taught there was a hell a number of times.
Yeah. What's there to fear then? Right.
So the church today, I mean, if you mention hell today, a lot of Christians will look at you like, oh, we're not hellfire and damnation.
Exactly.
Well, Jesus is. I mean, he mentioned it. Yeah, I'm not going to say it every time I'm talking.
Dwell on it.
I'm not going to go around to everybody's house and say, the fear of the Lord and the hell is coming, you know. But when the Word talks about it, we're to talk about it.
Yeah.
Above us only sky. No God, okay? We are gods with unlimited potential. That's what that statement means. Only open sky.
No heaven.
Yeah. Imagine all the people. That's your brainwashing verse. Just keep sticking in there. Okay, living for today. Pleasures of the flesh. Imagine there's no countries. There's that globalist utopia there, the one world order. No walls. See, this stuff's they've been ingraining this into us for such a long time.
This is from the 60s, right?
Yeah. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. That's atheism. But we know ultimately the beast nothing to kill and die for unless you're part of the world system and you hate Christians, then you kill them.
Right.
But that's all right because they're to blame for all the world's troubles. Imagine all the people living together in peace. There's that false peace that they always promise. Peace and security and safety and
oh, it feels good.
oh yeah, so nice sounding. This is basically in our other discussion we talked about how the church is likened unto a harlot today, giving false promises of peace and pleasure. I shouldn't say false promise. I mean, the harlot will give you pleasure, but it's not lasting. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us. And I think after that, during that song, that is spooky because I think doesn't the song go ooh hoo 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 or something like that when it just like, oh man, this is really spooky. If you watch the video, it's really it is spooky if you're a Christian and you know the symbolism that they use there. And the world will be as one, just like Babylon.
If that ain't the New World Order and the Antichrist.
That's their song.
This is the theme song.
It'll be their theme song.
This really is. I mean, now they've got so many other ones too, but this really did catapult it. Imagine no possessions. Socialism. I wonder if you can. Now you're being challenged. This is This is such a mind controlling song.
It really is.
If you really study, mind control and stuff like that, it's all here, man. They put everything in here. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Now this makes you feel like you're part of something. Mm-hmm. Reject everything else and become a part of this new brotherhood. Now it's of man. That's their religion. Man, self. That's the religion of the Antichrist, the religion of worshiping yourself. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. So borders or boundaries is against their worldview. It's the symbolism of it. I mean, it's their symbolism in their mind, this big dream that they're imagining. The wall is terrifying to their dream. I mean, the wall is a nightmare to them. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
You're not alone.
Yeah. See, this is really, is mind controlling now. Now you feel like, well, he's not alone. He's not the only one. And you really only have one choice, and it's I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one.
And we can all fly away together.
Right. So, I mean, I just wanted to pull out an example of, how devastating the wall is to them, because this is why the Nancy, they said they were for the wall before and all that stuff, but they really weren't. It was just pacifying. It was playing politics. But when we're seriously going to actually build a wall, because we have Donald Trump now, they're freaking out. The globalists are in full-fledged panic mode. And now I really believe this possibly represents our last stand for preserving our culture. I mean, even if we get the wall built, we've got a lot of mess inside here that needs to be fixed. But at least it's where you have to start. You have to draw the line and say, no more. We're not for globalism.
It tells the world we're serious about our country and our culture and our way of life.
Yeah. It's drawing a line in the sand. It's telling them we're ready for battle. This is where we stand. No more. We're fighting.
I keep getting back to this song, There are songs that are inspired by the Holy Spirit, but this one is inspired by an evil spirit.
Right.
You can't tell me that Satan didn't have something to put in John Lennon's mind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree with you, Because, I mean, it's so simple. I mean, it is a this song is masterfully done.
And it's a really well-written song. I mean, the melody and the sounds and it's just a great sounding song.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is ultimately what Satan is so good at. Again, deception. Mm-hmm. He can make a song sound so good, and then meanwhile, you don't even know you're being manipulated and brainwashed into, his way of thinking.
But I don't think John Lennon was the only one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. These lies, when you look at them, they all go back to Genesis to the conversation that Satan had with Eve. You know, basically Satan in one sense was saying, imagine if you don't follow God, you can be as gods.
You're not the only one.
You're not the only one. I mean, it's...
And if you can get Adam to join us...
Yeah.
Then we could all live as one.
Yeah.
Right. And now, since, how could you be against this, right?
Right. Peace? How can you be against peace?
I mean, living as one, sharing everything? I mean, you mean-spirited Christians that actually believe the Bible and that God of the Old Testament, man. They really
try that with a commune?
David Koresh?
No, the guy with the Nazi, the swastika on his forehead.
Oh, yeah.
His name escapes me
right now. Yeah, he was
now.
that mass murderer.
Yeah.
Well, he had other people mass murder.
Yeah, he got them to do his deed, his dirty deed for them.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By mind control.
Right.
That's what Satan does, yeah.
Satan is the ultimate cult leader.
And he's just a human. Guess what the supernatural Satan can do?
Right.
Amazing compared to, what the heck is, I can't think of his name.
Right. If you were Satan, you're fighting against the kingdom of light. Who are you going to try to influence first to control? It'd be the pastors, those that are supposed to be fighting against you. You would somehow get them to think they're doing your work, or to somehow get them thinking that they're still doing God's work, but they're actually working for you. And that's got to be the best method of advancing his agenda is working like that. I mean, it's so hard to detect.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So any other thoughts on the symbolism of the wall? I mean, I think it's wonderful.
I just had to look up Charles Manson.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I know. But it just reminded me of that. He has his own little commune, and he sends the people out to do his dirty work for him.
Right.
No, but I think ultimately you're right on with the wall is more than just a wall to protect us from
Absolutely
the MS-13 or the drugs coming across. Although it will help greatly with that, there's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. It is more, and why there's such an aggressive fight against it is because it's all part of the globalism movement.
Mm-hmm.
Re-election.
We're in a stand against globalism.
And nobody's talking about that.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anybody talk about that. It's all about the practicality of it, which is it is. But
Christian Overcomers is brought to you by the tithes and offerings of our listeners. If you would like to support our ministry, please go to ChristianOvercomers.com. God bless you, and thank you for your support.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible sword. His truth is marked